and welcome to the first episode of Olsem Wanem for 2017. I'm Florence John Duo. As we fast approach the 2017 general election, we give you an overview of the upcoming elections. We start off with a brief history of the Electoral Commission. We also give you an insight to the laws that govern the function of elections. Joining us for this episode is the Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato.
The history of the Electoral Commission goes back to about 1964. The first election started in 1967. There were previous commissioners. The first commissioner who ran the elections in 1967 is an Australian national. His name is Robert Bryan. He was called the first chief electoral officer. Simon Comey is a national from the Northern Province. He was responsible for conducting the 1972 House of Assembly election. After late Simon Comey, the next electoral officer was James Milling. He is from Medang, and he conducted the 1973 to 1975, which took the country into independence. Again, that was still under the House of Assembly election, and he was the chief electoral officer. Then after independence in 1975, James Milling was appointed as the first Papua New Guinea Electoral Commissioner. The title of the position changed during James Milling's time. And so he served his second term, and he conducted the 1975 to 1981 national election. And that was for the first parliament election in 1977. The first election started in 1967. And that's like 50 years ago. So this year would be our 50th anniversary or Silver Jubilee for the PNG Electoral Commission. And I'm proud to be the current Electoral Commissioner, attaining that 50 years of Silver Jubilee, because this organization has grown with the political system of the country in terms of managing and running the elections of the country.
It is important for us as Papua New Guineans to understand the laws that govern the function of election. Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato with more.
Well, let me start off by discussing the laws that govern the function of election. The function of election is governed by, I think, two highest laws. One is the Constitution that establishes the Electoral Commission of Papua New Guinea, and the second one is the organic law on election. So the organic law basically gives the right, the legal mandate for the Electoral Commission and the functions of the Electoral Commission. There are basically three major functions or main functions. First one is for Electoral Commission to update the roll before any election. Second main function is to conduct the national and LLG election. And the third key function is to review the boundaries, the electoral boundaries of all electorates under the Constitution and provide a report to Parliament. Okay, so those are the key mandates, the two highest laws, the Constitution and the organic law provides for the Electoral Commission. I'm the current Electoral Commissioner. I've been appointed for a term of 6 years. I started in 2015, and my term will expire in 2021. Okay, so those are some basic history about the Electoral Commission of Papua New Guinea and the legal mandates the laws give us to perform our task.
Welcome back as we look at the overview of the 2017 general elections. Carrying out a national election is not a cheap exercise. Over the years, we've seen an increase in election budget. Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato gives us an insight to this year's budget. This year's election also comes with a new twist. We highlight proposed legislative changes to the election laws.
Running a government election is one of the most expensive exercises in the country. Each election comes with a different price tag, and the figures continue to rise. For the 2017 general election, the budget stands at 400 million kina. Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato tells us more.
The 2017 national election will be conducted at the cost of 400 million kina. The national government has appropriated 400 million kina to fund the 2017 election. Out of the 400 million kina, 121 million kina is allocated to police for security operation, and 279 million kina to the Electoral Commission to conduct the election. Yes, election is expensive because it's mobilized within a very, very short given time, and we have to deliver our outcomes within a short period of time. And so it costs a lot of money for us to mobilize resources, and some of those resources are things like the manpower, temporary election workers that we have to draw from within the public service and some from outside the public service. Then the resources like the big name items or big ticket items, the ballot boxes, the compartment box, the seal, the indelible ink, T-shirts, and stationaries that we have to put together because we have to mobilize that in big bulk and distribute it within a short given time. The cost of doing that is quite expensive. Then, of course, the transport requirements, the aircraft, the sea transport, and the road transport, the vehicles that we hire. And so for this year's election, we are already into advanced planning in terms of our logistics and materials that we will require for the 2017 election.
Apart from the enormous price tag of running elections, the key dates of the 2017 election program is still in question. The dates approved by the Governor General and announced by the Electoral Commissioner in 2016 are as follows. The tentative election program for 2017 national election, issue of writs and nominations open Thursday, 20th April 2017. Nomination closes Thursday, 27th April 2017. Polling date starts Saturday, 24th June 2017. Polling ends Saturday, 8th July 2017. Return of writs on or before Monday, 24th July 2017, and return of writs for LLG election Monday, the 7th of August 2017.
Now, what's going to happen is there's been discussions about proposed changes to the election law. Now, if they decide to change the law, the proposed law, if they decide to amend the laws will go, because it's changes to the organic law on national election, it requires 2 readings in Parliament. So the first reading will happen in this month's Parliament, the January sitting Parliament, and the second reading will be in March 2017. So if those readings go through, one of the proposed changes is to defer the LLG elections for 12 months. Now, if that happens, then I will have to go back to the Governor General and advise the Governor General to change the tentative dates that I have just announced. There is also discussions about reducing the campaign period from 2 months to 1 month. Okay, so those are some discussions that's going on. I'm only looking forward to Parliament to see whether they would change or not, amend the laws or not. And if they do so, then I will go back to the Governor General and advise the Governor General on the tentative dates. I'm calling it tentative dates because the confirmed dates will be published on the REITs. Those dates that appear on the REIT are the confirmed dates. These are tentative dates basically to plan for the election.
There are a total of 7 proposed legislative changes to the election laws. These are reduction of campaign period from 8 weeks to 4 weeks, separation of national and LLG elections, increase in nomination fee from 1,000 kina to 10,000 kina for national elections, and 200 kina to 1,000 kina for LLG elections. Increase in election petition filing fee from 5,000 kina to 20,000 kina. Places for filing election petitions to be restricted to 4, with 1 per region. Provincial governments to conduct LLG elections and online registration enrollment of eligible voters.
Watching Olsem Wanem. As we fast approach the 2017 general election, one topic that has created much heated debate is the printing of ballot papers overseas for the first time in history. Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato explains why he decided to have the ballot papers printed in Indonesia rather than in Papua New Guinea.
For the first time in PNG's election history, ballot papers for the 2017 elections will be printed overseas. The ballot papers will be printed by Pura Group, a company in Indonesia. This decision has brought up much heated discussion. According to the Electoral Commission, an evaluation of PNG-based facilities showed that they lacked security, machine capacity, print technology, quality control, and high product cost of printing ballot papers. Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato gives us his response to the much heated discussion of the printing of ballot papers.
The decision to print overseas is simply because the cost of printing overseas is cheap. I've asked the government printer to give us a code. I've given it a first right of refusal. What it means is that I've asked them to come and see our specifications, because I believe for every election event, the specification of the paper, ballot paper, and the specifications of the security features on the ballot paper must change. Otherwise, it will be easy for people to duplicate. And so for this election event, for the 17th election event, I've decided to change that. So the size of the ballot paper has slightly increased, and the features on the security on the ballot paper, the security features, I've also increased that to 9 features. I cannot disclose the features because that's something confidential. So with those new features, I've asked the government printer to quote, and they've increased the price. They've increased the price, so they've written back to me and said they don't have the capacity to print the new features, new ballot paper features, and the security. So because of that, I had to invite local printers who are partners overseas to come and provide quotations to me. And given those quotations, and our technical evaluation team met and looked at the quotations and the specifications and recommended to the Supply and Tenders Board within PNGEC. And the Supply and Tenders Board decided on one and recommended that to the Central Supply and Tenders Board for approval. On the 23rd of December last year, the Central Supply and Tenders Board approved Trade Pacific to print the ballot papers at a cost of 6.6 million kina in Semarang, that's Central Java, Indonesia. Okay, the ballot papers, as I'm speaking, they're currently in print. I've seen the sample of the ballot papers and I'm satisfied with the sample. Towards the end of last year, I visited the factory, which is owned by the Pura group of companies. I visited the factory. The factory is big, and they are specialized in printing ballot papers and some security features like trading within the currencies of different countries. And also the security features for the SIM cards, the telephone SIM cards and all those things. So they're actually a big and well-established company, very professional company using the latest technology in printing. And so our order for ballot papers for this election event, for the national election, is 10 million, 5 million for the open seat, and 5 million for the provincial seat, a total of 10 million, all at a cost of 6.6 million kina. There's been a lot of discussions, arguments in the paper and in the social media, but I want to dismiss that. It is my responsibility as Electoral Commissioner to print the ballot papers and run the election. If anyone tries to interfere, then he's interfering into the process, the constitutional process that I'm mandated to do. My concern is about cost and security of the ballot papers. Some people have argued about the rights, the democratic rights given away. I don't believe that. The democratic right is expressed during the polling. People use the ballot papers to cast vote, to express their democratic right. We're not taking that away from them. I'm concerned about the cost of printing ballot papers and the security features that must be embedded in the ballot paper so that we can conduct a free and fair election, giving equal rights and opportunities to everyone to conduct the election, cast their votes at the polling stations.
Welcome back to the program. In our final segment, we discuss the electoral roll update with the Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato. We also look into illegal election practices and behavior.
Now, for those people who have already voted, their names are still on the roll, so they should not be worried about registering again, but they should identify whether they're still on the current location or they've moved. If they've moved, then they should approach the provincial electoral officer, the election manager, and fill a new form, the claim for enrollment, which also provides for transfer in and out, so that their data can be transferred out if they have moved, and if they've settled in a new place, their data will be then entered into the new place. Okay, so by doing that, we then update the roll. So what's going to happen is after we update the roll, and I'm hoping by January most provinces should finish, end of January. In February, I'm expecting provinces to publish the preliminary roll and make them available for objection. Okay, so in February we will have the objection period, and then in March, hopefully by end of March, I should have the final roll printed and certified in preparation for election. I think the biggest challenge for me is to ensure that the election is trouble-free, and that people can go out there freely to vote during election. And so in our preparation, what we did in setting the stage is to come up with a theme for the election. Okay, so for our team for 2017 election, we said, your choice, protect our democracy. Now what that basically implies is that we give the choice back to the people. And we believe that election is not just Electoral Commission's responsibility and the officials who are involved in managing election. The responsibility should be with the people. It's really their choice. They're coming out there to express their democratic rights to choose a leader. And so in expressing their democratic right, they make a decision, they make a choice. And that choice is basically to protect our democracy. In terms of our democracy, I think we have, Papua New Guinea has enjoyed that democracy.
It is our responsibility to make sure that the elections are free and safe for each individual. Illegal election practices include bribery of votes, intimidation of voters, and underage voting as seen in the previous election, as well as early campaigns.
Campaigns should officially start when the writs are issued and nomination begins. So legally that should happen, okay? But some people go before that, before the nominations open or before the writs are issued to do campaigns. I've been asked questions whether the Electoral Commission can take them to court. And I said, no, that's not my responsibility. That responsibility lies with the public. And if they think someone is doing early campaign, they have the right to go and report them to the police.
And that's all we have time for on Olsem Wanem. If you have any stories or comments you would like to share, please send us an email via the address on your screen or visit our Olsem Wanem Facebook page. From the Olsem Wanem team, thank you for watching, and it's goodbye for now.